What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Now, before we get into Carl's interview, this is a deck list that he used to get top 8 at Ohio State's. And as you see, it is a Kyogre deck, but this time he decided to play Victini EX in his deck. And Victini EX has the attack Turbo Energize, which you search your deck for 2 basic energy cards and attach them anyway to your bench Pokemon any way you like. But the main reason why he used this card was for Intensify and Burn. It does 50 damage, and if the defending Pokemon isn't Pokemon EX, this attack does 50 more damage. So that way you can do 100 total. So if you're playing against Verzi and Genesect, which is Kyogre's worst matchup, you do 200 to them. And one way you can kind of get like ahead before they start like Emerald Slashing is that that Carl played Victory Piece, which if Victory Piece is attached to Victini X, Victini X can use this attack regardless of the energies attached to it. So once you have a V piece on a Victini, you just kind of use Intensify and Burn. Turn 1 is just one side of, not turn 1, obviously, like turn 2, whatever. But you just automatically use Intensify and Burn before the Verzian can actually Emerald Slash to a Genesect and stuff like that. And it seems really strong. And they play 2 Victinis, and they actually played, and I keep saying they because they're talking about Kevin Baxter and Carl Scheu. They played the deck together. But as you see, they did play 1 Fire and 3 DC, so that way you can kind of use Intensify and Burn. So while you have one in the active, you kind of just attach a Fire and then a DC and start having 2 Victinis ready to go whenever. But overall, it's kind of the same Kyogre deck that we've seen, but this time instead of Restaurants with Steve Victini. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview, and thanks for watching. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing another States question answer video here with Carl. And Carl, where are you from?
I am from the Cleveland area, but currently attending college at the University of Dayton for mechanical engineering.
All right. And what states are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about Ohio State.
Okay.
Week 4.
So how'd you end up doing a Swiss?
So I went 6-1-1 in Swiss and came in as the last 6-1-1 into Top Cut, but we had none bubble, so 8th seed for me.
Okay. So what were the decks that you played against, and did you win or lose?
So I played against 8 different decks of this tournament, which is really absurd, but I'll get to why I think that's starting to happen now in a bit. So round 1, I got paired against someone who, before the match, admitted she was really new. I never played before, and I was like, okay, got a nice buy round 1. She flips over, and she's actually playing. She flips over a Mewtwo and a Pumpkaboo, which is really bad for me because I played Kyogre Victini, and so Nightmark is not really what I want to face. So I was like, great, I'm just going to start out and just lose to someone who admittedly does not know what they're doing. But I did win. She either just dead drew completely 2 rounds in a row or didn't know how the deck functioned, but wasn't complaining. Round 2, I faced Mega Gardevoir Fairies, which is usually an easy matchup, but both games she actually got turn 1 Mr. Mime. Okay. Which the idea in that matchup is you set up Primal Kyogres and the Toadstorm, so the residual damage just kind of adds up and you just one-shot things anyways, even with all the healing, because they can't heal the 30s off all the time. So the turn 1 Mr. Mime hurts a lot, obviously. But awkwardly, Victini VPs turned out to be really good against it because Spritzies have 50 HP. So the game plan, actually, both games ended up being to kill the Spritzies with a VP Victini while charging up Primal Kyogres. And so I won that series on the back of Victini, which was not something I expected. Round 3, I faced Skeptile Genesect, and both games it felt really dirty. I opened Victini X VPs both games, so I felt really bad for the guy. I was pretty sure I was cheating. Game 2, I actually started double Victini, and by the end of turn 2, I had a Victini with a VPs, and then a Victini with a Fire and a DC on it. So it was kind of a massacre for him. Round 4, I faced Nick Bailey, and we had 3. Game 1, I dead drew, he won. He was playing just straight Yveltal. I don't actually think he was playing Seismitoad, but I'm not sure. I guess you wouldn't necessarily play down against Kyogre usually. Actually, no, I think he did play one Seismitoad, but it wasn't a heavy Seismitoad variant from what I could tell. Game 1, I dead drew. Game 2, he dead drew. And then Game 3, we played an actual game. But I was able to set up 2 Primal Kyogres, and I was able to get a late game end to stick. I think I ended up to 2, and it just kind of stuck and got me the win. Then round 5, I faced a Mewtwo Manectric Crobat deck, and again, game 1 I dead drew, game 2 he dead drew. Then game 3 we didn't have enough time to finish. We just ended up drawing there. Round 6, I faced my good friend Andrew Mahone. So always an exciting time. We had a good time. We actually are playtesting partners too, and he was playing Landorus Crobat, which is usually a pretty good matchup for Primal Kyogre. But while testing the 6 games of testing I had this week, because I wasn't too worried about the event honestly, we discovered that going hard with Lucario EX can actually just kind of beat the deck. Like you can just get a turn 3 somersault kick for 200 and just run through the deck. That happened both games, and it would. And at this point, I was actually kind of on tilt because it was I should have won my round 5. The guy was we just didn't have enough time, and I had 2 pretty mediocre starts. I prized 2 Kyogre, and then against Andrew was relatively good matchup, but both games just what I thought were ideal starts, but learned later weren't actually the most optimal his deck could run. So, and my tilt this year's been pretty bad, so I was not happy. Round 6, so round 7, but I still have a chance to make top cut actually. Round 7, I get paired against. I didn't know what I was playing against, and I opened Victini and Kyogre. So usually I'll just start the Kyogre over the Victini because I'm facing a fighting deck or something it's really bad. And I actually faced this guy at the regionals earlier in the year, so I thought he would just still be playing Donphan. So I just opened with the Kyogre, let the Victini in the deck. Turns out I flips over a Virizion Majestic, so obviously I was okay, we lost the free win. We're just going to start Kyogre and just, he ends it away. I don't see Victini game 1. He plays Headringers on me. Game 1 goes really bad. And I had a really bad start too, so it was fine. Game 2, I knew what I was playing in this time, and he kind of dead drew, but stayed in the game because Headringer just slows down my whole process of staying up. I can't play down Flipstones. I can't put Spirit Links on Kyogres. So he dead draws, but able to make it a game because of Headringer.
Yeah.
But I'm able to win. And then game 3 is where my luck actually starts getting really absurd at this tournament. So we have this back and forth game, and I actually game 3 went with the Suicune route because I'd not seen any non-EXs in his entire deck. So I was just trying to go on the Manu Suicune route, just win with the one Suicune I played, which isn't too absurd. Any of these G-boosters I'll set up so I can just kill the Genesect with G-boost, is not a big deal. But middle of the game, he benches a Surskit. Now, me, I don't know what Pokemon evolved from what. So I'm sitting there I don't know this Surskit's gonna evolve into. It's grass type, so I'm assuming it can one-shot my Suicune. I have no idea what it does. So I end up just I don't hit the Lysander, so I can't really just go with this mono Suicune route anymore. But I hit some weird combination where I'm able to get a Kyogre set up and a Victini set up sort of on my bench, and I kill this, and then I smack. I think it was a Genesect for 70, so I set it up for an easy Tidal Storm. And I find out that actually what Surskit evolves into is a card I literally have in my binder. It evolves into a Masquerain, which is used mostly to move tools around. And since it was playing Mega Manectric and G-Booster and Muscle Band, it made a lot of sense. But I didn't know Masquerain evolved from Surskit, and it does enough damage to one-shot Suicune. It actually does it's for 3 colorless. It does 60 damage. So fits right in line with just generic good Suicune counter, I guess.
Yeah.
So we trade back and forth. I kill a Virizion and a Virizion and a Manectric, I think. I never kill, and so the game gets to the end. So the field is, I have a Victini on my bench, a Suicune with a decent E and a water, and irrelevant Kyogre and a Keldeo for Floodstone. And at this point, I just Chorus for 8, and I hit a V piece and another something else that was somewhat relevant. But I decided not to put the V piece on the Victini because he had 4 prizes up, so if I put the V piece on there, the Victini becomes a really easy target, and he'll just play around my one of my only win conditions at this point because I wasn't charging up a Kyogre before he starts plowing me with Genesect. So I don't actually play down the V piece because I'm afraid he'll just hit the Lysander. I didn't end him, and he had 9 cards in hand, so it was pretty reasonable. But unfortunately, I know he plays Headringers, so it's one of those really weird give and takes from just kind of hinging on the fact that maybe he won't have Headringers in his hand and he'll have I felt it was more likely he had a Lysander in his hand than Headringers. Turns out he had two Headringers in his hand and a Lysander, so it didn't really matter. But he VS Secret for an end, so he could have VS Secret for a Lysander. So he ends me down to 1. So my win conditions at this point were I had 1 VS Secret deck that could KO the Jirachi, or alternatively, I could do what I actually did, which is the first card off the end of 1 was the V piece, but the Victini X is now Headringers. So that doesn't work. So, things are looking great. I promote this Keldeo for Flip, so I'm going to have to retreat. The second card I draw off the end to one was the Victini to just kill the active Rizian EX that he was using to charge up his Genesect. So I was just like, Veep off of an end to one, I hit Victini EX and VPs to one-shot the Genesect to get a 5-1 at 1. And this was the absurd one. So he was salty about it. I thought he had a right to be salty. I respect it, but really good game. He had a really cool deck too. Like, I've never actually seen a Virizion Genesect Manectric deck actually ever function. Like, I knew it was a deck, but it normally doesn't do anything. It kind of just sits there and, like, doesn't ever attack. So I'll give him props on that. So last round, playing for a win and in, which I know not a lot of people knows, I've been really good at losing these this year. I think I've lost, like, 5 or 6 win and ins at regionals or states, which is why I keep getting these, like, stupid top 64 regionals, top 16, top 32 at states. Like, I just am so bad at winning in. I get paired against Kevin for the winning in a 60-card mirror match. So it was really, so game 1 he goes first and he just gets a better start. Like, I have a decent start, but like I missed some energy drops and he went first, so he just kind of won. Game 2, now we both only play one Suicune. So game 2, I'm actually able to go Lamano. I'm able to kill his Suicune before he kills mine, and he doesn't have enough Lysanders to Lysandre around and take 6 prizes. So he scoops game 2 real quick, because I'm just have a Suicune board. I'm not going to bench anything. Like, we know each other. We have the same list. Now game 3 is a really fun one. So I try to go for the cheap one against the Suicune. Unfortunately, I'm able to, like, he doesn't have Suicune active, but I still hit a Kyogre for 70 anyways, because he had a DC in discard and a DC on a Kyogre, I think. Then he had a water on Suicune, so I felt we only played 3 DCs, so I was like banking on the fact that he just wouldn't have the DC and I'd be able to just like get there with Suicune and worry about killing his Suicune later. Well, he had the 3rd DCE and able to get ahead on the Suicune trade and kill my Suicune. So at this point, you know, people were like watching the game because for me it was a win and in, and if I lost, Nick Campbell probably got into cut. So at this point, like, I can't physically attack this Suicune anymore. Like, it just can't actually happen. That's a problem. So at this point, people kind of stopped watching and assumed I'd like lost, which I kind of did too, I'll be honest. But then I'm like, look through and I'm like, okay, he's got a bench. He's got 6 prizes on bench. We have to like Lysander infinite times. So the good news is I had a better setup than he did because I'd actually been charging up a Primal Kyogre in the background while he was charging up a Suicune. So the Kyogre actually hit for 70. He'd Rough Seas down to 40, so he wasn't able to Primal it. So step 1, we promote this Primal Kyogre. We bench this other Kyogre EX. We Alpha Growth. We Lysander up, and we kill the Kyogre that's 40 on it. Move the energy to the your Kyogre EX. So we've got 4 prizes left. Now the issue here is in this mirror, you need to hit your Lysanders back to KO and EX because you don't actually one-shot them. And if you miss it with Rough Seas, that's a huge problem, especially because they'll heal off the damage, then there's a decent chance you miss it enough turns in a row, you just aren't able to actually kill the X, and you waste the Lysander the whole time. But I had 2 VS Seekers prized and 2 in deck, and I already had 1 in my hand. So the idea was if I could just hit him, string them back to back, I could actually win the game in like 4 more turns. And the other good news is Suicune, while it is an inevitable clock, it's a really slow clock. Like, you're doing 40 damage to something that's 240 HP. That's not the fastest clock in the world.
Yeah.
So I kill the Kyogre, I hit a VS Seeker. This is pretty good news. Unfortunately, I only have 1 in my hand, and the support I have is Juniper. Now, I need 4 VS Seekers a combination of 4 VS Seekers and 4 Lysanders to win. Now, I've only got 1 Lysander deck and 4 VS Seekers, so I can't really afford to Juniper the wrong way. Like, I literally need to hit him 2 at a time. And I can't waste it the first time because then I might lose on Rough Seas. So he hits my Primal for 40. The top next to the so I'm like, okay, we can back-to-back this and just pray to God he never, ever ends me. Like, that's seriously, I've been like, close my turn, I never get end. So I VS Seeker for a Lysander, bring up this Primal that's fresh, hit it for 150, move on to the Art Kyogre EX. He draws, he doesn't have the end, things are good. I move up my normal Kyogre EX because I'm going to Giant Whirlpool this turn because I moved 4 energy onto it at this point. I VS Seeker again, so that's the second one. KO the Primal. We've only got 2 prizes left. Like, this is like a game now. We've only got 3 more. We draw the second VS Seeker on the prizes, so this is good. Now I just need to top deck either VS Seeker or Lysander, right? And we have 2 turns to do it. This turn he Ultra Balls for Jirachi, but doesn't play it because, like, then I win off 1 VS Seeker as opposed to needing back-to-back to win. he was just basically getting it to thin his deck where things got really hairy. So I actually draw into my fourth VS Seeker. So this one, I've got my last two VS Seekers in hand, and I just need to, like, dodge the end. VS Seeker again, so this is the fourth turn in a row of Lysander. I think I brought up a Keldeo because he could rough seize it, like, 3 times, and it would still be in one-shot range. Hit it for 150 off the title storm with the Jones Kyogre. He top decks a Skyla for the end, but he just Skyla. So I then play my full VS Seeker. So for the 5th turn in a row, I Lord. And I won, and it was great. I beat Kevin. We finally stopped losing a winning in off of like 4 VS Seekers in a row. Which, if Burbank doesn't know this, I have like 100 VS Seekers. So if there's anyone who's allowed to play VS Seeker 4 turns in a row, it's me. So it's kind of exciting, fun. Everyone's happy. I finally didn't lose a winning in. So top 8's put up, and we actually had 8 different decks in the top 8 as well. So that was exciting. Unfortunately, I got paired against Andrew Mahone again. And so in top 8, he's the 1 seed with Landy Bats. I think our 2 seed was a Don Fan. We had a Medicham deck in there. We had a Seismitoad Crobat, a Magnetric Mewtwo Crobat, a Primal Kyogre deck, a one of those Blastoise Archie decks, and then Dion with a Fairy Seismitoad deck. So again, our whole tournament was really diverse, including the top 8. I got paired against Andrew Mahone and Landy Bats again. And similar to our Swiss series, so game 1, he gets that ideal turn 3 somersault kicking me for 200. The game's just over really quick. Game 2, he actually still hits it, but I'm on the play. So I'm able to, like, barely squeak out game 2. Like, I beat barely, but in spite of the turn 3 200 on the Lucario again. But I squeak out game 2, and then game 3, I try to go, like, Suicune kind of, because he discards the Meltank early. That was another thing, is against Mahone, I can't go the Suicune route against him, unlike most of the Landy Basilisks, because usually what I can do is, you can, like, take some residual prizes on Haluchas and Zubats with Suicune, and they can't really do anything to it. Like, they can Crobat and Golbat you, but usually that doesn't add up to 100. He happens to play a 1 of Meltank, which is really, really good against Suicune. Like, 80 plus 30 kills Suicune, period. So he discards that, I try to go Suicune, but I end him to, I think it was 3, and he hit, like, I want to say 2 out of the 3 cards were for VS Seekers for Lysander, and he only plays 3 VS Seeker, and he plays 2 Lysander. So it's just a little unfortunate, but no, I was able to get the win off the, like, Lucario again, the, like, turn 3, like, 180. He actually KO'd a fresh Primal Kyogre out of nowhere on turn 3. Like, cleanly. It was like, Golbat, Lucario, dead. Like, well, okay.
That just happened.
I was like, okay, like, but no fault at all. Mahone ended up getting into the finals. Good games. So that's how my tournament ended, was just basically getting bum rushed by Lucario 3 games in a row. I tried, but that is one of the problems with Kyogre, is that you don't really have any, like, God starts. You're kind of like this slow kind of mid-range deck where you just do the same thing every game, but if your opponent just gets a quick start, it's really tough to recover, and Lucario kind of capitalized on that for me and took me out in the top 8.
Still, I mean, top 8 is very good, so congratulations, sir.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take a top 8 at this point. all the points are good.
Yeah. So, I know that. So, have you been playing, like, Kevin's list every time he's been playing it, like the original Kyogre, then the restaurant thing, and then the Victini thing?
Okay, so I did not play the original Kyogre. For Michigan, I actually played Yveltal's Seismitoad. Okay. And I lost a winning into Alex Hill because he played, I want to say he played 2 Xerosic and a Center Lady for Mirror, and that was not fun because I only played the 1 Center Lady. For Kentucky, I did play the Kyogre Reshiram, but I hit some really awkward matchups. Like, the first 2 rounds I hit Hammers, which aren't, like, inherently bad matchups, but, like, my round 1, I didn't know he was playing Hammers until the middle of the game. Like, he had a turn where he, like, Junipered, and then he just played 4 Crushing Hammers and 2 Enhanced Hammer in the same turn. Just out of nowhere. So, like, you're not playing around the Hammers, and then you just, when they play 6 Hammers in one turn, you tend to just, like, lose on the spot. You're just like, okay, well, I wasn't playing around that, and you just flip 3 out of 4 heads, so I guess I just lose.
Okay.
And then week 3, we played the sketchiest deck I've ever played, but it was really fun. We played this, like, Mega Magnetric Empoleon deck. Like, it's pretty bad, but it was really fun. And
Yeah.
then week 4, I did play the same list as him, so it
Okay.
generally is the same list.
Now, do you like the Victini version more, or do you like the restaurant version more?
So I think I 100% like the Victini version more, just because the Victini is a lot more proactive. And the only thing I don't like is you have to play V-Piece as your ace spec. Like, that's probably the most annoying thing, is like you don't get to play computer search, and that card is just so good in a format where, like, realistically, a lot of games can be won and lost on just like not having a supporter or just not drawing well on your first or second turn. Like, computer search is just such a good card to have. But other than that, like, the team version also has like this really, it helps the VG matchup more, because sometimes the VG players can just hit their Lysanders and their Plasma Energies and play around the Reshiram.
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing with Victini that I've like found randomly is that like it can be like a proactive card against even like non-grass decks. Like being able to, like, if you go second, you can theoretically get a turn 2 primal out with Victini if you hit the like turn 1 turbo and then you like put the 2 energies on, then primal up the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like basics that have 50 HP that are like nice to kill. Like Spritzy is the main one. The EVs, the Energy Evolution EVs, and then a lot of the grass dudes that are like not Genesect or Meridian conveniently have 100 hit points. Like Leafeon conveniently has 100 hit points. Executor, which was like a deck that like I never know if it's gonna show up to a tournament, but like something you're always kind of worried about, also conveniently has 100 hit points.
Yeah,
Like, it's just nice to have, and most of the time, if it's like not something you need in the matchup, you can just like ultra ball it away or just like throw it away, and it's not too bad. Like, worst case scenario, you like start with it, you give up 2 prizes, and your ends get better. Well, that's the other thing, is like this deck is really good at ending opponents, because like you kind of set up this slow plan that just literally involves only attaching energies, and you don't really have to do anything else. So you're better off. You're a lot better off of ends than your opponents. So like, even if you start fit in a matchup that's not ideal, and if you can just get like a turbo energized out of it and then just end them after they kill it, like, it's generally fine, honestly.
Okay. Now, you do play the one fire. Did you ever want a second one or anything like that, or you think the one was enough?
There was one game where I would have won the second fire. That was, I want to say it was actually my third round opponent against the Skip Child Gens deck, where I did not know, where like at the start of the game, I did not know if my B piece was prized. So I attached a fire to my active Victini EX and I Junipered, and then I hit a B piece on my second Victini. But like I wanted to do the turn 1, the intensifying burn instead of the turbo energize. So I ended up just still attaching the B piece to the one with the fire and just basically didn't have 2 Victini EX that game. That was the only game where I would have wanted the second fire. So like you can play around like not knowing if the V piece is prized or not. But most of the time the one fire is like more than enough. Like you don't even really, you like try not to even use it. Like sometimes the one fire actually still manages to get in the way for like alpha growthing and hitting like a fire instead of a water. So like I would never want to play 2, especially with the 3 Skylaw and the 2 letters. You've got so many outs to just search it as long as it's not prized. Like I think 1 is more than enough.
That's true. Now, you only play one Suicune. Did you ever want a second one so that way you can stall against the EXs more?
Yeah, I will say that, like, I would not have minded a second Suicune at all for, like, top 8, but, like, it was one of those where, like, there's, like, enough decks that, like, it's not good against, where, like, you don't want to just have another 90X. And the thing is, like, the 1 throws out the prize trade, too. Like, you only need the 1 to throw out the prize trade. The second one's, like, good in specific matchups, but, like, with the list we had, like, we're already, like, throwing in 4 cards for Victini and the 1 Suicune. It's kind of like, do you really have space to afford the second Suicune? You probably do, but you don't necessarily want it. And the same thing, like, you've got a lot of ways to search it out, and usually, once they get through 1 Suicune, they can usually get through a second one. Like, a Genesect that G-Boosters 1 Suicune has probably already set up to G-Booster a second one, because they're assuming you play it.
Yeah, true.
Like, I wouldn't mind it, but, like, it's fine. And the thing is, like, with the field so wide open, you don't want, like, you don't want to have possibly, 6 dead cards if the Victini X's are dead in the matchup and the Suicunes are. Like, that's how wide open field is. I don't even think you can, like, afford to have, like, 2 Suicune and, like, the Victinis. I had a friend who ran, like, a heavy Suicune count, and, like, if you face a matchup where they, like, are good against you, you just have so many more dead cards, and it's just a pain to have, even though it's a 90X.
Okay. So, how many championship points are you at right now?
So I am now up to like 230. We're slowly but surely trying to get there. Like, it's been an inefficient grind, to say the least. But the top 8 definitely helped a lot.
That's true. So, are you fit? Have you maxed out league challenges yet, or you still have a bunch of those left to go?
So I did not max out league challenges. I actually have done the math. I can get 20 more points from league challenges, and then I have a bunch of these like stupid regional state finishes where like they're giving me points, but like not really. Like I just want to prove them. So the idea right now, the ideal world is I win a league challenge and then I top 8 at regionals. That would be nice. I would really like that.
Uh-huh.
The other way is like top 16 original, top 8 original, and win my league challenges. Or the most absurd way, which hopefully I don't have to even go to the swing regionals, is top 32 3 regionals and win 2 league challenges. Or like so. There's ways to get to 300, but like only getting 70 points from cities is not how you want to get your invite. Like I didn't get points in December or March. We're like the 2 months in Pokemon that like you really want to get points in. Like you want to like get your invite in December and March. That's when like you have states and like all your marathons and cities. I just kind of like ignored those and watched Duke, I guess. Like I just forgot they existed and said, well, we don't need them. We'll just go to all these places that I don't know where they are on a map, and it's fine. Like Kevin knows where these places are at, so we're good.
Okay. So, regionals coming up. Are you gonna stick with Kyogre, or are you gonna switch decks?
Um, I don't know. Like I think going in blind, I think Kyogre is actually a really good play. So I'm probably gonna play Kyogre week 1, unless like Kevin comes up with something super spicy. Like that's the like what if like. It's always like I'm on a deck, but then Kevin comes up with like some super spicy deck. I'm like, oh, we'll try this. This is not sketchy at all. We'll just play this. But no, I think Kyogre is like probably where I want to be. Like it's got some bad matchups against like these super fast decks, but in general, the deck like does what it does, and like it usually doesn't beat itself, which at a regional is kind of where I want to be. I'm also kind of anticipating there being more Size and Toad decks because I feel like people are more likely to be conservative with their deck choices at a regionals than states. So, like, a lot of Kyogre's bad matchups are these, like, super weird decks that are now seeing play because Size and Toad is, like, awkwardly banished from my area. Like, there's, like, not as, like, week 1 was, like, 80% Size and Toad decks, and I don't even think that's an exaggeration.
No,
like,
yeah, I agree.
And then, like, all of a sudden, like, Size and Toad, like, people are, like, trying to beat Size and Toad decks, and now, like, Size and Toad's coming down, so now we have, like, weird things like a Metachan deck was doing well. We have Landy Bats is all of a sudden a thing again. Like, other weird decks, there's VG's a deck again, which is obviously the Victini is for that. Night March is like becoming really broken because Toad's not keeping it in check. Mm-hmm. So I think at regionals you'll see more Toads. I think Kyogre becomes a better play for regionals than actually states. But for the moment, I'm hoping I can just kind of ride Kyogre to victory. Like I would really like that. That would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like going in blind, I'll probably play Kyogre. Unless I see a really weird metagame where like there's like a bunch of people picking up all these like really fast aggro decks, and those are problems for me. Then I'll just play like Size and Toad with like a couple trump cards and call it a day. Good enough to beat half the field.
Okay. Now, do you want to give any shout outs to anybody?
So shout out. First shout out I have to give is actually to Nick Bailey. So his grandparents let us. I think they're his grandparents. Quote me if I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Let us room with them over at his house for Ohio State, even though like he wasn't there, which was cool. But I want to give a shout out to Nick for like letting us stay there, and big props to his grandparents letting us stay there. I also want to give a shout out to Dion Lunsford, who also top 4'd the event, and we've been like doing late night testing and theory mining for a while, so it's great for us to like finally actually do well at an event. So shout out to Dion for all the late night testing. Then I gotta give a shout out to John Kettler and Justin Sanchez, who, even though they already have their invites and have not really going for like stipend money, have been like helping me test and theory out the rest of the season. Then obviously have to give a shout out to Kevin for like the decks, the rides, putting up with me for I don't even want to know how many months. Like I almost feel bad for the guy. Like no one should have to deal with me for this long. Mahone for testing. My VGC friend Andy Himes, who hopefully gets video game invite for being a testing and theory partner. My guys up in Cleveland and Columbus, and all my Midwest friends. Shout out to all you guys. You're all awesome. I don't know how you put up with me, but I love you. Thank you. Just gotta give a shout out to all those guys. I think that's enough people. Think I did solid there.
Alrighty, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and good luck when you get your invite.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. You too, Squeaky. Have a good night, man.
You too.
Bye.